Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew. Keith Johnson.
You are not Morg. You are not Morg. What are you?
Alan Seiler.
I don't have a clever quote, so I'll just say hello.
And Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
And we're joined today by a special guest, Mary, also known as @flutesmusik with a K on TikTok and @flutemusic_cosplay on Instagram and Threads. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Hey, guys.
Hello,
Hey.
Mary.
Nice to see you.
Thank
Now,
you.
we do have a topic we're going to get into, but first, Mary, how did you get into Star Trek?
Well, that's a little bit of a story, but a little bit of one. I actually probably found Star Trek as a kid growing up. I do remember watching it. It was next to the Monkees on TV after school.
Well,
The original
boy.
series.
We have a
Oh,
monkey
boy.
podcast as well, so
Do we? Oh, I was watching the Monkees last night, but I will push that over to the side. It's another one of my big fandoms.
oh dear.
Yeah. But anyways, I loved both of the shows, and I love space. So science fiction has always been a thing. But as I got older into my teenage years, I kind of got away from it. I still liked space and science fiction, but like just as teenagers can be, I was just a little too cool for that stuff. And then I met my ex-husband, and my ex-husband introduced me to Voyager. And it was that I fell in love with Star Trek. He showed me the first episode of Voyager, and I was like, what happens? You've got to tell me what happens. And he goes, I can't tell you what happens. I said, let's watch the last episode then. And he goes, you wouldn't understand it. And I was like, why not? He goes, so much happens. There's like 7 seasons. And this was on VHS. Okay. He was like getting like the subscription of the VHS tapes. Because this was like 2003.
Right.
Wow.
And so anyways, it was he was the one who introduced me to it. It was with him that I watched basically everything up until that point, and it was pre-Discovery. We watched everything together, and that just really fostered my love. And then I got divorced, but I kept Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a good thing something good came out of that relationship.
Well, I'm glad you got custody of Star Trek.
Right.
What is your
Somebody
favorite
had
Star
to.
Trek? Right. What is your favorite Star Trek series?
Voyager.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it was, I watched like the original series, and I watched bits and pieces of Next Generation when I was younger. And so I had a really big crush on Wesley Crusher, which I did not mention before, but I did.
Aw.
Yeah, no.
Aw.
But watching Voyager was when I really developed an affection for the characters in the show. And I am just the biggest Janeway stan.
Me too.
I am.
Awesome.
She's just everything. She made me question things about myself. But
Wow, that's interesting.
no, she's really like one of like the only women who've ever done that for me. So
Okay.
All right.
yeah, Chuck would not let me watch Voyager. And by
You
say
say it
let,
makes me sound mean.
I mean, I was like you, like I saw TNG on the reruns and whatnot, but he made sure to get me into Deep Space Nine first.
That was very important to me.
Yes.
I literally posted on Threads earlier today about macrocosm tank top Janeway. I was like, if you don't like her, are you even alive? Like,
So besides Janeway, who are some of your favorite Trek characters?
oh my gosh. Well, I am a big fan of Odo.
Aw.
Good.
I love Odo, and specifically I love Odo with Lwaxana. And Lwaxana is another one of my favorite characters because their dynamic, they really get me where I am right now in life. And I just keep that like thought with me, like he's like all insecure and she's insecure too, but like comes off with like bravado. And that's me. Like I try and like cover up all my insecurities with being obnoxious. And and so it's so like I'm genuinely outgoing, and I can be very loud and stuff like that.
Right.
But if I'm like really loud, I'm nervous. So I'm gonna try and rein it in a little bit because I am nervous to be here.
Nothing to be nervous about.
But yeah, those are a couple of my favorites. And also Boimler.
I love
him.
Boimler so much.
I do, because he is also me. It's like I just like he tries so hard, and he wants to do so good and be so good and follow the rules. And I was raised as a rule follower. I am exactly the same way. I want to impress the people that I work for, and I want to do everything by the book. And I want people to like me at the same time, but those things don't generally go together.
Nope.
And I know that. So yeah.
Okay, just super quick. Our buddy Tiger Blade 2002 says, "Hey y'all, good to see you back, Alan. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I was on an away mission to Florida last week. And we have this friend named Elaine. Elaine just happens to be the third co-host on this Monkeys podcast that you've heard all about. So her comment is, woo, monkeys."
Yep. Elaine co-hosts the Monkeying Around podcast with Veronica and I, and she runs all the Monkeying Around social media. So if anyone out there follows Monkeying Around, you're following Elaine.
And she does a fabulous job.
Yes, she does.
Oh my gosh.
This excites me. I'm genuinely excited. Like, oh my gosh, the monkeys. Like, I don't talk about this with anybody.
We'll talk more later.
Right.
And you do a lot of cosplay.
I do, yeah. It's been a little quiet lately, but speaking of the Janeway thing, I was like, oh, I should do the tank top. That's what I was talking about. I was like, maybe I should post a couple thirst traps. I don't know. But I'm a single woman. I can do this thing.
Yeah, true.
Right.
So I have I do a couple cosplays. One I really like, I really enjoy doing, and it's Jennifer from Lower Decks, the Andorian.
Yay!
And I love painting myself blue and doing it. And I have like some fresh Jennifer takes, because I like putting Jennifer in not just the uniform. When I went to Las Vegas, I put her in the Choo Choo shirt because I was like, she went to the concert too.
Right.
And it was super fun and also very easy to do. And I have another one that I'm working on because I don't know if you guys, and this is me being like, I get weird, and I've been like in a state lately, but I've been playing the Lower Decks mobile game.
Oh, I play that a little.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like you can get into it and then you're like constantly on it. And I've been a little constantly on it. And so I have a cosplay coming up based on that, like kind of pulling from it.
Cool.
That is Jennifer,
Interesting.
So yeah.
Awesome.
So anyways, and then I'm also a friend of mine is helping me because I have like one wig, but it's like a long wig and it's not in a ponytail. But I have a friend who has a friend, which is great to have. Who works on wigs, and she's helping me get an actual ponytail wig. And so I'm very excited about it because this is all part of the process, because I am basic when it comes to cosplay. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't sew. I don't make things. So when stuff happens, it's usually bought or like really cheaply jimmied together. Or a gift, which is also nice too. Yeah. I've been given a phaser. I've been given like a Voyager type phaser, and I bought myself one of the original series ones that they had, the toys, which is cool.
Yeah.
My kids gave me an Enterprise. I have like an Enterprise, which is really, really sweet. They gave me a number of very sweet things.
But you're a Star Trek fan, like everyone knows what they can get you, and you love it.
Right.
And it is like, well, see, so like my kids weren't with me because they spend half the time with their dad and half their time with me.
Yeah.
And their dad took them to like a Dave and Buster's, I think. And my oldest son, sent me a picture. He texted me a picture. He was like, "Look at this," and it was like a whole Star Trek arcade game thing of some kind with cards, like trading cards in them.
Okay.
And so he played because you had to like do something to try and win them. I don't know exactly what, but he won me an Uhura, like a Nichelle Nichols Uhura. And so it's up there on my little display shelf, and it's really great. He's like, "I kind of bent the corner a little bit." And I was like, "Bro, I am not that person." I'm like, "It's okay." Like, I find it very, very sweet that you played a game to win something for me.
Right.
That's
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, our topic tonight, we wanted to talk about things that we'd like to see Star Trek make second contact with. That could be planets, that could be species, that could be characters, that could be actors. Anything from Star Trek that we'd like to see happen again. It doesn't have to be an official Starfleet second contact, but just something that we would like to see return to the franchise. Am I describing that topic right, Keith?
That is correct. When you look at Star Trek, you always have these things that people talk about. It's absolutely associated with Star Trek. The question, it's almost like a meet and greet. What is your favorite captain? What is your favorite starship? What is your favorite episode? What is your favorite series? And one of the things you always hear on Star Trek is, what is a race or species of person you want to revisit? It could be, and I'm not going to steal any, it could be, I'll just say, I listened to a podcast, and I've said this before about Star Trek, where they said Captain Kirk's Enterprise had no rearview mirrors. He'd do a thing, he'd hit that thing, and there's I'm sure you've all heard the joke. It's like, that's what we call whatever. You're gonna like it a lot, and then he leaves. Like, for all you know, it's like a thermonuclear war after he leaves, or some crap like that. So there's a lot of people outside of that. There's other species I just want to see again. What happened? Either because they were exciting, or sometimes from a political, religious point of view, you wonder what happened after they left. Did they ever go back and find a dead husk of a world? It's just it's an endless topic to discuss.
Right. Well, what was one that sprung to your mind, Keith?
Well, my bad impression of "You are not Morg, you are not Imorg" is Sigma Draconis, the ice planet from Spock's brain. And the reason is, that's obviously some people consider one of the worst episodes, but it's also funny. What's fascinating about that is, as bad as the science with the brain is, they had, well, it's funny what we have now. They had ion drive, which for some reason was beyond the Federation, even though we have ion drive right now.
Right.
But they had incredible technology, like the teacher of knowledge. That thing is freaking amazing. It's like something from the Matrix. And one of the things you always talk about in Star Trek is, the whole joke is, how is it you go to a race on the other side of the galaxy and they speak English and things like that. And what I love about the teacher is they had an entire civilization's knowledge that they could download into your brain in a couple of seconds, and then you're a super genius for a while. And I would also like to know what happened to that planet in terms of that, like the Ionians and some others, that they have outposts elsewhere in the galaxy. Are there other people like that? And then again, they never talk about this really weird, as Spock called it, male-female schism, where, for a reason that makes no sense to me, the men stayed up on the top and became cavemen, and the women stayed below and wore mini skirts and go-go boots.
Right.
I literally don't understand that, but I want to see how the Federation fixed that.
Yeah, can you imagine being,
what's that?
Yeah, can you imagine being the Federation representative who here you go, you're in charge of this planet now. Go boots and caveman, sort it out yourself.
Right, you go up top, they try to kill you, you go down below, and they have and you got to be really careful because they look a certain way, but they literally have the minds of children. There's a whole thing about that society that needs to be talked about.
Did you guys ever play the Mass Effect video games?
A little bit. I played it a little bit.
Okay, in Mass Effect 2, they kind of addressed this.
Okay.
Because
Wow.
this might be what happens. I don't know. So one of the guys on your crew, Jacob, gets his father was lost in space, and he ends up getting a message saying that they think his father might have crash landed on this planet, and in order to like help your crew, you're supposed to like go on these missions for them to like gain their loyalty and stuff. So anyway, so you go to this planet, and you find out that the flora is not toxic to your body, but it is toxic to your brain and will cause mental decay.
Okay.
So anyway, so you go and you're like walking along, you find the ship, you know, it's all crashed and like the supplies and stuff are gone. It's been scavenged. You walk a little further and you find a bunch of women, and they're speaking very stupidly, like, and they know, well, it's just very basic. They're talking like children, and they know that you're from the sky, and it seems like they're struggling to find the words that they used to know, but they don't know them anymore. And you also, as you go along, after you leave the women's village, you find men, and they're like feral, and they're like shooting at you and stuff like that. Well, you find out that your crewmate's dad basically turned it into like a harem of his own.
Okay.
And let the men like go do his thing, and made kept all of the supplies, like as far as the rations, the normal food rations for himself, so that he could keep his wherewithal.
Okay.
And then he let everybody else like go, and it made the men really aggressive and the women very docile. And there's like logs about it. It's horrible. And so maybe that was what happened.
Maybe.
That sounds
Which
like
is
a planet.
bad.
It
really
sounds
bad.
like a planet you'd have to send Vulcans to kind of restrain themselves with some stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Mary, did you have something from Star Trek that you'd like to see return?
Well, I honestly would like to see, and now I can't think of it, which is really bad. Sometimes my Star Trek knowledge is very surface level,
No,
and
that's fine.
No, I get that.
the species that Voyager runs into in Distant Origin.
Oh
Dang
my
it, that was
gosh.
going to be the one I would brought
Oh my
up.
gosh. It is literally one that Alan and I bring up almost every time we have an excuse to talk about it. So
Right.
It's so
It's
fascinating.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. The Vault.
Yes.
They're so good. I want to know what happens to the guy, you know, who nobody believes. And he's like, man, I think we came from these guys over here.
Right.
And he has like the stuff, but he's like forced to not believe it or disavow it and everything. And I'm just like, oh, what happens? I want to know what happens, because, you know, if we can, I mean, obviously the way Voyager got back was not a return trip. You know, you can't get back to the Delta Quadrant
Right.
the way that they left it. But it's a shame, because I do think, you know, like if the Federation could get out there and, you know, and then they find out that there's not just humans, you know, there's other humanoid creatures, you know, and maybe through that one guy's research and stuff like that you could find really, you know, like getting into like where like Vulcans come off you know, where they might be related to humans somewhere, because really what was the difference between the humans except for the green blood and the ears?
Right.
Nothing. And offend a lot of people. I mean, I would be totally for it. Like finding like a connection between Vulcans and Klingons. I would love that. The fire and the hate, it would just be so good.
That'd be amazing.
I've always tended to think that given what the magistrate did, the matriarch or whatever her name was, I always wondered if well, first off, she told them they were going to make him go into something like metallurgy. And he's like, I know nothing about this.
Right.
I tend to think that given where they were, they'd probably end up treating him like Galileo or what someone like that. Like they would probably keep him in the house arrest. Any movement they see that would even come close to adhering to his philosophy, they'd probably try to purge it. And
Right.
I just wonder how long it would take, because you can never kill an idea. You can kill people, but you can't kill an idea.
Right.
And I just wonder how long, to your point, it would take for something to crack that system.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it would have to be generations more. I mean, And by
Yeah.
that, by the time that it does get somewhere, maybe the Federation would have, routes to the Delta Quadrant in order to, like get there and not just come as a singular human ship, which they could poo-poo away. And now we have fleets,
Yeah.
I think it would take a long time. They've been out there in that world ship for like millions of years. So
Right.
even more slowly than on Earth, where, just a few hundred years ago, Galileo was being persecuted for things that we now take for granted. But I think it would take the Voth even longer than it would take humans because their culture isn't evolving that rapidly.
Yeah. And some obvious stuff. I mean, it's obvious, but would still be interesting. What happened when a Voth ship was approached by a Borg cube? Did they just kick the what out of them? Did the Herosians say, "Oh, never mind"?
Right.
Those are also like, they're like, think about them like running in, like, what did the Kazon ever run into them? Like,
I actually choked. The Kazon, oh Lord.
That is the appropriate response when the Kazon are brought up.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
we saw a few Kazon on Prodigy, and I would love to see more like Delta Quadrant
Yes.
races on Prodigy. The Voth would be great for Prodigy with all the dinosaur stuff, but
Right.
also like the Herosians and people like that would be awesome.
right. And I think that Prodigy is a good, place to bring in that kind of stuff. And I've genuinely been excited. I don't know about you guys, but I love that show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
Oh,
a
yeah.
big Prodigy fan. I was like, wow, this is like way better than I expected it to
Oh,
be.
yes. Yes.
It had no business being that good, honestly.
Exactly.
That's was our review every week. We're just confounded how these episodes were getting better and better every week.
That was basically our review of every episode of that show and every episode of Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I am with my people here.
Absolutely.
I've gotten I've seen a number of Trekkies saying like, well, I don't like the animated stuff, and I'm like,
Nah.
man, you are missing out on
Yeah.
some great
Yeah, you are.
storytelling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, don't cut yourself off just because it's drawn.
Right.
So
Right. Let me get a couple of comments that had come in. Wayne now says that his choice for this topic is V'ger,
Nice.
which is an interesting one.
Yeah.
We have an unidentified Facebook user who was watching. Thank you so much for watching. It's a pleasure to have you joining us.
Glad to have
I
you.
might know who it is.
Okay. Excellent. And Elaine says, I would like to see Trip Tucker come out of Section 31.
Amen, Elaine. Come out of somewhere, because that ending for him was bogus.
Yeah,
I don't care what they do.
Nobody likes that.
And then
Yeah.
she also says, but you can definitely skip very short treks. Oh,
And so far as
100%.
drawn ones, ugh.
I only watched one of them,
Oh, good.
and I
Don't
was
watch
like,
the others.
I was like so put off by
Yes.
it. I was like, I am not watching any more of these.
Good.
Why
got
are they
That
worse.
was
shoving
smart.
this down my throat?
Right.
Oh, they
Yes.
got so much worse. Oh,
They
so
really
bad.
did.
I don't think I watched the first one. I'm trying to remember which one I watched. Oh gosh, it was
Lunar
one
Planet?
with a bunch of different, with like all of the different ones. It was
Okay. Yeah, where they're all holograms and
yes.
it was
And
like
they're
a
singing.
all
That was the
holograms.
best one of them.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Oh, that
think
one. I
that's
know which one you're
why.
talking about. Yeah, that
think
one.
Yeah,
that's
that one was mostly watchable until like the very last
Yeah,
like couple
the
seconds.
ending was terrible, but up until that point, it was actually kind of interesting. It was
How
a
did
bit
it
repetitive.
end? Remind me, because I feel like one of them offended me.
I think the way that one
Oh,
ended
and
was
me.
me putting my fist through my computer screen. So,
No, I was okay with that one until like they started
Yeah.
going backwards in time and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense why you'd be watching a hologram of the future. But yeah.
There was something that happened at the end that was like, oh,
Yes, there
Yeah,
was.
they
I
could
don't-
have
really
stuck the
offensive.
landing and they didn't.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't remember what it
I
is either.
I don't remember.
and
I
I will
put
not
that
watch
out
it
of our
again.
memory.
We'll talk about it in therapy sometime.
I think Wayne's comment about V'ger is very interesting because there's almost every science fiction show you think of has some being or beings that ascend. Stargate has the beings who ascend. No major spoilers, but Babylon 5 has all these ancient races that go beyond the rim and kind of sort of ascend. And Wayne and I recently talked about a thing called a Kardashev scale. It's a scale of civilizations where it's basically level 1 is you can utilize all the power in your planet. Level 2, you can utilize your star, aka a Dyson sphere. Level 3, etc. and we were having a conversation about what would a higher level be that has evolved so far beyond us. So I would be very curious to see what happened to Vidra. Is Vidra just chilling out, waiting for us to join him someday? Does Vidra come back evil one day? Do we never find Vidra? There's a lot, and as you know, sometimes kind of sort of people claim that Vidra may be from the people who created the Borg or was modified by the Borg. I don't like that one, but there's always a discussion about that.
Is Vidra the Q continuum?
I would say no.
No.
It's up to
Wow. But Veronica, you make an interesting point. Wouldn't it be wild if Vidra just starts like mowing through all these higher dimensions, absorbing people? Like here he comes again.
And that's what happened to the Q. That's why Q was dying, because Vidra absorbed them.
More information than we got on the show.
Solved.
Oh no, the Picard slander. Don't get me started. Don't get me
That's
started.
funny. Vidra is actually control.
I'll go for that.
That'd be awesome.
Who else has got one?
Well, before we do that, let's go ahead and go grab a quick break because we're almost at the halfway point and watch a couple of
already. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back with more of our discussion. So stay right there.
Cool.
We can't show you what happens in the Felt Nerdy and Dirty show, but we can show you the people responsible. Charles Kelso, Veronica Dashel. Felt Nerdy and Dirty. You won't believe your eyes.
Hi, I'm Gina Shock from the Go-Go's, fabulous drummer of the Go-Go's.
Hi, this is Tony Levin of King Crimson.
Hi, this is David Fisher for the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp.
Hi, this is Richard Evans. I am the author of Listening to the Music the Machines Make.
Hi, this is Teresa Kariakis, punk rock photographer.
Hi, I'm Tom Beaujour, author of Nothing But a Good Time, and you are listening to Modern Musicology.
Modern Musicology.
Modern Musicology.
You're listening to Modern Musicology, so, pay attention. You might learn something.
And we're back.
Woohoo.
So, Alan, you said the Voth were yours.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a backup one?
No.
Okay. Veronica, were the Voth yours too?
They were not. I went with the Dosai.
Okay. And explain the Dosai for anybody.
So the Dosai were basically the Ferengi, but not quite Ferengi. They were more like menacing of the Gamma Quadrant.
Okay.
And we've kind of seen them a second time.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of sort of had a second contact, but not really. But they were working with Quark and trying to get something berry juice. What was it? I forgot what the berry was.
We'll
Anyway,
just say Tallulah berry juice and keep going.
Yeah.
just say it confidently.
Tula berry.
Yeah, it was Tula berry.
Yeah.
I was pretty close.
Veronica, I was yelling Tula berry, but I was muted.
Oh.
But yeah, they were a very interesting species in that they had the need to bargain and wanted to make deals like the Ferengi, but they were more Klingon in how they dealt with things.
Yes.
And very menacing and leather and studs and
These are the guys with the face paint.
yes.
Yeah, the face
With the face paint, and they had like black dots up their face or
I
something.
do not
don't
remember this at all.
And the lead negotiator was that actor, the actor who's been in everything.
He's a great Klingon.
Yeah, he played.
Yeah.
He was the Klingon when Riker was on his assignment. He served to stand on the Klingon ship.
Yep. And he was in Generations also.
Yeah, he was in Generations. He was in that bad movie with Andrew Robinson, Cobra, and Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
He was the psycho serial killer leader of the cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, Andrew Robinson was in a movie with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, it's called Cobra. It is horrible.
How gay is he in it? Because I can't see him as anything but Garrick every time I see him in anything else. I'm like,
He's actually kind of wimpy in this one because it's a standard 80s, 90s cop movie where the Schwarzenegger / Von Damme / Stallone character is irreverent and tough. But the actor, and I'm sorry guys, that's me. The actor in there, I agree with Veronica, that's a great choice because I hadn't thought about that. They were negotiators, but they would like rip your arm off if they didn't like the negotiations. They're really weird people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were back briefly in Lower Decks in one episode where they did not rip Quark's arm off, Thank goodness.
Oh, I forgot about that.
But yeah, I'd really like to see some more about their culture and like just even not just their culture, but like how they wheel and deal and how they go about making bargains with people and maybe actually ripping arms off. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
It'd
I'm
be
always a
interesting
fan of
to,
that.
it'd be interesting to explore more capitalistic societies in the Star Trek universe.
Yes,
Because
we need that very much.
I don't think we need it, but I think it would be I think it would be fun, and I think it's kind of realistic that not everyone's going to be out there to explore or to conquer. Some people are just greedy.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny. That's an incredible pool. So I never would have thought of the species, but Veronica is hitting on one of those things I was talking earlier about the political things. The Dominion has fallen.
Yeah,
those are very
where are
aggressive
they?
people, right? What if they? I mean, how many races like that might start carving out their own little empires with the Dominion fall? No matter what the Federation or whatever tries to do.
Yeah.
Another DS9 race, one that I'd like to see again, is the Screens. Do you remember the Screens from the episode Sanctuary? They came through and they thought that they'd also been conquered like the Bajorans had.
Yes.
They came through. They thought Bajor was their like promised land, and they were trying to go there. They ended up getting shipped off to Draylon 2 instead. They had a real interesting like matriarchal society where the women had multiple husbands and things like they're more fleshed out than a lot of aliens of the week are.
Yeah.
They even had some language and stuff.
That's
that they did.
true.
But they really seemed like a parallel to the Bajorans and something that could have dovetailed into the whole storyline of the prophets and the prophecies and all that stuff. But they were just never mentioned again.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been really interesting to see what happened to them on Draylon 2 and have them become a part of Bajor's story and maybe eventually come home to Bajor to add what they could add to the planet. Because, the Bajorans were worried about taking in refugees, which is a great analog for a lot of stuff that's happened in our society.
Yeah.
They were worried about them becoming, like a burden to them. Like Bajor can't afford to take care of somebody else. We can't take care of ourselves. But how much richer could their society have been if they'd had the help of these hardworking farmers and in the millions coming to, reclaim the barren places on Bajor and things like that. I think they've been really fascinating. I'd love to see them revisit it.
Like so much of DS9, that is 100% relevant today because it was an immigrant story.
Yeah.
And people who don't want the immigrants, and there was frankly racism against them by some because they had that their dermal layers. They basically it was like sand was falling off of them, and they start becoming some racial slurs basically against them. And I think you make a very interesting point, Charles, because they said that there was a religious prophecy for this planet. And so what you're saying is right. They might have been just as valid on Bajor as the Bajorans are.
Yeah.
And it was also really wild to see Kira, who was all about a freedom fighter and stuff like that, basically kind of saying, well, I'm sorry for you, feel for you, but got to go.
Right.
It's a really deep show.
Yeah. And maybe the prophets were leading them to Bajor.
Yeah. To help them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the two men that was the main lady's husbands, or I think that was Walter Koenig's son.
Okay.
I think so. His late son, the one who died.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that was his son.
Yeah. I think you might be right.
Good choice.
I've got.
I thought of another one. Do you have one, Alan? Oh, so
well, I do, but go ahead.
So, moving back around to Voyager and a wormhole. Those two Ferengi that had come through the wormhole in TNG and landed on that planet and took over. What happened to all those people after those Ferengi left?
I thought you were going to say the Ferengi. Like, that'd be awesome. Just they go through the wormhole to a different show every time and just appear on every Star Trek series. What happened at the other end of the
wormhole? That's great.
Like in Discovery, where Linus just can't get his teleporter right, and he just pops up into various scenes.
Right.
These Ferengi just show up randomly in different shows. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
But you were talking about the planet.
I'm talking about the planet. Yeah, the people on the planet.
Yeah.
How they went.
Yeah.
Did they continue on with that, or did they go back to however they were before, or did they try something new? I think that would be kind of interesting to find out.
Did two other aliens pop in and take over where the Ferengi left off?
Yeah.
Well, it's true. Yeah.
It'd be kind of like that episode of Prodigy, where they had been influenced by Ensign Garavik, who landed there and just ruined their planet. But but these people are out there like worshiping the Ferengi and trying to be more Ferengi-like and like pretend Ferengi out there in the Delta Quadrant, like making their way out into space one day.
wearing prosthetic ears
Right.
and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
That'd be hilarious.
It was a very cool concept.
It was. No, I honestly, while it's probably, I don't think it's looked at as like one of like the better Voyager episodes. The idea of it was really good. Really
Absolutely.
was.
Yeah.
It's my favorite Voyager episode.
Is it?
Well, because it's got Ferengi.
Because it
in
got
it.
Ferengi.
And it's the only one that does. So.
Yeah. All right, Alan, what were you going to say?
Okay, well, let me get 2 comments. Matt Sweatman says, I'd love to see the administrators from RISA travel to Rubicon 3 to recruit the Edo for their resorts. That's so specific.
That'd be a cool show. Like the guy
Wow.
from RISA who just travels around to all these planets recruiting the hot people that the Enterprise encounters.
Right.
Are there some loincloths here?
Wow.
And then we have, oh, I'm sorry, but
I was gonna say,
then-
so the feeders of all and all these others that we
Right.
picked up.
and then we have maybe the same unidentified Facebook user who wants to know what we think of the Star Trek comic book series.
I haven't read many of them, but I know Chuck has gotten several of the comics.
Yeah, I've gotten behind. I was making a point for a while of going by Dr. Nose and collecting every one of them as they were coming out, and the Defiant series as well. And it's interesting. The idea is interesting, I think, more than the execution. Basically, it's just like, what Star Trek characters can we mix together into crews?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it could be Spock, it could be Lore, it could be Belana Torres, it could be Tasha Yar's Romulan daughter. You know, it could be anybody. And so they're just mixing these people sort of seemingly randomly and just seeing what comes out. And it's fun in that respect. But the best thing about it is that you've got Cisco back and he's commanding a starship.
Yeah, baby.
Yes. Absolutely.
So the other one that I was thinking of, and this kind of doesn't count because we have now had a second appearance of them in the end of the last season of Lower Decks, but I've always been super fascinated by the Binar. I really want to know how they developed, how their culture has evolved over the centuries, how they came into this really, really interesting relationship. And now with Lower Decks, we have been introduced to the idea of Trinars, which doesn't make any damn sense at all. But it's a cool concept, and I would really love to see more about this really unique species and how it developed and where it might go from here.
Yeah, it's amazing to me they never revisited the Binars again.
I
after that
know.
episode, until Lower Decks, and it's
Right.
so exciting to see them on Lower Decks because I mean, a lot of Star Trek races are just, you know, they're the kind of samey. They the bumps on the head or something like that. But the Binars are really unique, and I'd love to see them fleshed out more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'd like to know if they learned to implement backup systems too.
Maybe that's where the Tri in Trinar comes from.
Yeah. Hey, you got a whole freaking computer planet. Their sun goes nova, like, oh man, we ain't got a backup. Let's grab the Enterprise.
It's hard to back up a computer planet, though. You need
Come
a lot
on.
of
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't fit on the flash drive, you know.
Right.
That is a fantastic choice I never thought of. But as soon as you talk about it, as you say, it goes from being maybe a joke or a one hit wonder to just there's fascinating possibilities with that race.
Right.
And another cybernetic species too.
Yeah.
I would like to see them show up in Discovery, you know, see where they are that many centuries down the road, you know.
Right.
Maybe they're quadranars now. Who knows?
All right. Who had another one?
What if they like? Would they become quadranars if they like reproduced with the duplers?
Oh, now that is interesting.
I'm just messing.
I'm loving this.
Wow.
I don't
You're
remember
a-
about the duplers.
Yeah.
You
The
are a
duplers
guest.
were fun, and I would be, I would think that doing them in live action could be hilarious and weird, and to make it Jeffrey Combs. I'm just
Well,
saying.
of course.
I'm just
Obviously.
saying, like that should all be him, and then
Yes.
Well, and there's so many
it would be the
possibilities.
greatest of jokes.
Yes.
There's so many possibilities because the Federation and Starfleet explicitly forbid DNA manipulation. Will they forbid cybernetic enhanced beings as well serving in Starfleet? Because sometimes, what's the difference?
Yeah.
True.
Well, they apparently don't because, I mean, I don't know about letting them into Federation, but I mean, Picard is now technically an android.
Mhm.
Yeah, but he's
Yeah,
not
but
True.
no,
really.
no offense, but he got the worst Android deal I've ever seen in science fiction. An old body that's gonna die in like 20 years. I would be so pissed off.
You're generous to give him 20 years.
Yeah,
I know, right?
but Picard's the same guy who turned down being 16 again and starting over. He's like, no, I'd
Yeah.
rather be 65.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of those. They're way too noble. I'm not that noble.
Right.
Nope.
Okay. Matt Sweatman brings up one that we have talked about before on our
Okay.
show, and this is a big one for me. He says maybe it's because we're about to reach this point in our next gen watch through, and maybe it was all the rumors trying it in season 3, whatever, of Picard. But I need a follow up to Conspiracy. I 100% agree.
Preach.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Conspiracy is the one, the next to the last episode of season 1 of Next Gen. It was the best episode of season 1 of Next Gen, even though there are some other good ones. And man, it was this species from way the hell across the wherever who have invaded Federation, and they are like implanted into the higher ranks. Oh my God, it's so good.
And it ended with a tease.
Yes.
With
The
a
signal has
cliffhanger.
been sent. They're
Yes.
coming.
Yes.
It's been 35 years and nobody come.
Right.
Yes.
Really far away.
Oh
Then
my
it
God.
is time to follow it up.
Yeah, it's better.
it-
And that was a weird, brutal episode of Next Gen. For that.
It really was.
Oh,
Exploding
yeah.
heads and things.
That
Really?
was when
Yeah.
that was when it was like a brand new show, and it was made direct to syndication. So they were like, we can do whatever we want. We can be grown up Star Trek now. And they showed that by having these people like have their heads blown off and stuff. It was
Right?
amazing.
It was something, that's for
It was-
sure.
it was something.
And
And that old man kick Riker in the face.
It is great. Yes. And it's one of the episodes that started what became an unfortunate meme for a minute was Worf got his butt kicked a lot because he was supposed to be tough and people were beating him up. It's also a great show because I'm sure everybody here knows those beings were originally going to be the thing that the Borg became. That was going to become the enemy. And then they just like, well, we don't know if that really kind of works. And then there was the whole thing about sticking the slug thing in the back of their necks. And so the Borg took the place that they were going to have. I also like that episode because there's a lady, and there's still debate about this. There's a young black captain, young African-American woman, Triala Scott.
Yep.
And when Picard meets her, he says, you achieve captain faster than anyone in Starfleet history. Now, given you're talking people like Kirk and Picard and Captain Pike, that's pretty freaking fast.
Yeah.
And there's debates to this day. Spoilers for those who haven't seen it, did she die? Because they zapped her with a couple of phasers, and there's some said, well, she died, but then Admiral Quinn got zapped and he lived. So there's a whole bunch of questions about is Triala Scott dead or not? It's one of those fan things.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd be happy if she just popped back up. It's Star
Oh
Trek.
yeah, totally.
She came back from the Black Mountain and she's just back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As an
I have
admiral
no
or
memory of
something.
that episode, but that's not terribly surprising.
Well, we should watch it.
I
Oh my
remember
gosh.
the head blowing up thing and Riker getting kicked in the face. I do remember that. I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Man,
Veronica-
When you
that
guys said
episode is
that, I was
so
like,
good.
oh, okay, yeah.
Veronica, it's the one where they have the state dinner and they're eating grubs. Supposedly, they open up a little top and they've got a whole plate of grubs and they pretend like they're eating grubs.
If she doesn't remember the episode, she's not going to remember something that
No, but-
specific.
You don't
We'll
eat
watch it
grubs?
again.
We'll watch it again. But
Yeah, all right.
you got me with the slugs in the brain. And this is probably too early for everyone except for me and Mary, but Animorphs did basically the same thing. Did you read Animorphs, Mary?
I did not read those,
So they were a series
but I do
where there was
remember.
they were a series where like these aliens were invading, but they were a parasitic species and they'd get into your head and take over your brain and take over your body and whatnot. So when you said that, that's remind me of that.
Whatnot.
I would
Just,
like to see the
turn-
Horda again.
Yeah.
I think the Horda
Yes.
is one that you could definitely bring back with modern visual effects. People give the Horda a hard time and say it's a big pizza, but I like the Horda. I think it's cool looking, and I think it's a
Absolutely.
cool concept for a species. And I'd love to see what it's kind of the same way as the conspiracy aliens. They left it there with now there's this whole species of Horda that we're working with, and I'd love to see them, out there in the galaxy and
Yeah.
see what
Would there
happens with
be
Horda.
multiple Horda on multiple planets?
I think you could have as many because there's like 5,000 babies. They can go wherever they like. You know.
Do they sneak onto ships? Is that how they?
Not usually. The Horta don't sneak onto ships, but you could take book passage. They're intelligent species.
Yeah, they're.
I don't know how they communicate.
Yeah, they're incredibly fierce with that acid that can eat through rock. And
Right.
their only weakness is, as they mentioned, because they're silicon based, they can't exist in an oxygen atmosphere for long. They have to stay out of that. That's a slight weakness.
You can work around it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see that. Time to get political. Me being me, I'm the one who always hates the end, because at the end they said that you guys know where I'm going.
Yep.
They say the Horta and the miners have a mutually beneficial relationship.
It was such a quick ending.
But it doesn't do anything for the Horta, because the Horta don't need the humans.
No, it
they're
kinda
like,
sucks.
they're like, leave. And so I would love to see if the Horta would like get off our planet.
Yeah.
They have a mutually beneficial planet to strip mine their planet together.
Right.
Or did they say, yeah, you can take 2% of our babies or something like that? Like, I just don't get how anything would work out well there.
Right.
No.
Because that's what they were picking up. They're like, look at these great things. And there's the children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could do that in the sequel,
Yeah.
As soon as the Enterprise left, they acided all those guys and just carried on being Horta.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. Now that's a short track I would like to see.
This time it's personal.
Star Trek Horta.
Wayne interjects that Hortas would have a useful function in Starfleet Corps of Engineers.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Yeah. They'd be great on away missions. They can burrow right into take samples from the center of planets, and they'd be great. And
Need to mine that dilithium or something like that.
Rescue operations where you can't
There you
beam down through into the depths of a planet.
Yeah,
security.
Lots of things you
Admiral
can do.
Quinn's not drop kicking a Horta in the face.
Maybe they could send them down to Excalibur to talk to those people. That's the folks from the Savage Curtain on the lava planet. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff they could do with them.
Yeah. You can get a lot of mileage out of the Horta.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, they could be covert ops because they're literally rocks. You know?
Right.
I mean, like they'd be there for a little bit, in the oxygen atmosphere is what they have to be. But just like, just a rock, somebody just dropping a little rock here.
Right. Don't mind me. I'm
That'd be
just a rock.
hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Hey, was that boulder there before? Oh yeah, I think that was in there, Dave.
That boulder move.
Okay.
Is that following me?
I thought of another one.
Okay.
This is stupid and nutso. Whatever the race of things that Armus comes from.
Okay.
The Jello chocolate pudding monster that killed Tasha.
Yeah.
Monster.
I really want to know, was he a unique thing? Was he part of a race of things?
I don't know, but he can be prank called. That's what I remember.
Armus is one that had a really interesting backstory that just was not in a good episode, because it was like this race of Titans that removed all the negative emotions.
That's
from their
right.
species, and then dumped it as this sludge that's now the sludge is pissed off about it. Like, you could do some cool things with that story. That episode didn't do cool things with that story, but you could do some cool things with that story.
It did some cool things, just not with that concept.
Yeah, it's almost like the concept of him almost reminds me of the movie The Dark Crystal, when the beings split into the so-called good beings and the so-called evil beings, the Skeksis. And I know you guys know about the Skeksis from the Center for Puppetry Arts. And that's the thing. So like if you find that race, so they like these really meek and mild and nice people because Armus took all their evil away from them. Well, do they have to do it every now and then? Every couple of 100 years, they gotta, hey, time for a new Armus.
Right, exactly. Keith, you're singing my song.
So there's a
now.
couple.
Bring
There's a
Dark
couple
Crystal.
places around with
Yeah, there's got to be.
That's very interesting.
There's got to be more than one deposit of Armuses.
Yeah.
Armi.
Gosh,
I don't know.
I never even thought of that, Alan. Now that you bring that up, because it's like the episode whose name I forget in Strange New Worlds with Kid was the sacrifice. That was. It's like, what if every 100 years or so they literally grab a person from their planet and go, hey, you're the new Armus, and dump all their emotions to the person and throw them on the planet and make them a sludge monster.
Right.
That would kind of suck.
And you could do that effect cooler now. They did the Ba'ul in Discovery, and they have kind of a similar like oil slick
very
kind of
true.
a look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go near Jonathan Frakes with that, because he was literally in whatever that mess was. That was actually him. All that inker stuff. He does not want to do that again.
Oh wow.
That was back in the
actually
80s when they
him.
would just pour you in something that
Codes and standards were a lot looser back then. All right.
OSHA wasn't around.
Matt Sweatman says, I want a taut action episode where the Federation strike force has to evacuate the miners once the Horde realize what a sham deal they got.
Okay, this is all taking a dark turn.
Oh, I love it.
I don't know. I think we're all kind of Team Horda over here.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Those
All right,
guys were jerks, though. The thing is that the miners were jerks in that episode.
Oh,
I did
sure.
not like them. I felt no sympathy whatsoever. They're like, we're getting killed down here. I'm like, okay.
Well, time for some self-analysis.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Maybe we should bring down the ship's counselor for you guys.
There you go.
Yeah.
Who's got any final suggestion?
You have another one, Mary?
I don't off the top of my head. Not quick enough for what we need.
All right.
So the crystal aliens that Lower Decks was doing the second contact with.
Yeah.
Because we didn't see the first contact, and that was how
crystalline
the second contact.
entity. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd like to see them.
Okay.
Because they were like second contact, but we never really saw anything about them after that.
Yeah. You're talking about the ones who worship the crystals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe the butterfly people in
Ooh,
Discovery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would love to see one of the funny ones that Lower Decks created brought back like super serious on Discovery or something. Like that. I love when they cross the stylistic changes of the shows.
Okay. All right, hear me out. I want to bring back the space hippies, guys.
Okay.
I would love to see the space hippies, and I want to know if their music has changed.
Nice.
That's basically it. Like, I just want them in the background, like on Lower Decks or something like that, doing a concert.
Right.
Like,
What
that's
would it
it.
be nowadays? Would it be
Right on.
Would it be rap, EDM, country? What would it be?
I don't know. I mean, if Beyonce can do country, anybody can do anything.
There you go. See,
I'm surprised we haven't really seen space hippies on Lower Decks yet. That seems like a low hanging fruit for Lower Decks to.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's more seasons to come.
That's
We still have opportunities.
Another one I'd just like to follow up on just quickly, because it's another one of these things where we always talk about they get this amazing tech and they never use it again, is the Cytherians, the episode with Barclay, the nth degree, where Barclay gets his mind expanded.
Yeah.
Because here we go again. They use the existing systems, modified the ship's engines, and they literally, Discovery, Spore Drive, they literally jumped across the galaxy in like 1 second.
Right.
And they also enhanced Barclay to the point where his IQ was something like 2,000 or something like that. And then in typical Star Trek, it just goes away and nobody ever talks about it again, other than the fact that Barclay can play chess now.
Yeah. I love that on Star Trek. These guys will come along and just be like, if you push these buttons, your ship can travel anywhere in the universe. Like, wait, what? What did you just push?
That's a good point, man. That is always on the Facebook groups. Like, there's just the other night I was in a Facebook discussion. People were arguing about how come the Kelvins make Kirk's Enterprise get to Andromeda in 300 years and we still can't do it by the time of Picard. And you're right, Charles. They're like, what's the deal? It's the same engine.
There's got to be a team at Starfleet who just like push every combinations of buttons and see if we have any magical powers in this ship.
Right. Wayne says the space hippies missed their chance to be in the Strange New Worlds musical episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wayne, please don't go down this road, Wayne. No.
Herbert. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Mary. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
And everybody listen out for Mary upcoming on the Monkeying Around podcast.
Right.
Let's see what I turn into over there.
Well, where can people find more of you?
People can find me on TikTok at flutesmusik, which is just one word with a K instead of a C. And then on Instagram at and Threads at flutesmusik with a K _cosplay. I'm also on Twitter because I won't call it X.
No,
we
I
don't
think that's
either.
dumb.
No,
Like
that's-
I just like whatever.
Well,
I am there a good bit, but I know people are trying to leave, so it's whatever.
We didn't really get a chance to talk about your online handle, so super quick. Are you a flautist?
I am.
That's fabulous.
Yes. I started playing the flute when I was in 6th grade, and I loved it. Played all the way through high school. Took just like some lessons for fun. It wasn't part of my college education. You know, like it wasn't a major or anything, just something that I did for fun. And here and there, I play for like pit orchestras, weddings, stuff like that. I'm
Very
not great
cool.
anymore. I used to be better, but you know, you get into life and you don't play as often. So now I probably play every few months, just
Very
for my
nice.
own personal edification.
Oh,
So if
that's
you
fabulous.
play flute and you know about the monkeys, then you remember Freddie the Flute from HR Puffin stuff.
I didn't watch that show.
There's a flute in HR Puffin stuff.
She wasn't watching the monkeys when it was first airing, Keith.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Well,
no.
you never know.
My mom was watching the monkeys when they first aired, and she was a child.
She's actually 72.
Anyway,
I might be older than you think,
Might be.
but
Yeah.
so
All right.
Like-
Keith, where can people find more of you?
You can find me on X, Instagram, and Facebook, primarily the ESO Network Facebook groups.
How about you, Alan?
you could go to cosmiccreative.com, KOZMIC creative.com. And there you can link to my other podcasts, which are Doctor Who A to Z. We are just about to release tomorrow morning an episode about characters throughout Doctor Who that could have been and should have been companions. And my other show, which is Modern Musicology. And we talk all kinds of music topics, 70s, 80s, 90s, all sorts of things. So go check those out.
And how about us, Veronica?
Feltnerdy.com, which
That's
is
right.
actually a website now.
That's right.
Yay!
And this is showtime for us.
Yeah.
This weekend, we're appearing at the Valentine's Puck and Puppet Show at the Center for Puppetry Arts. And then on Sunday, our own self-produced headlining show at Red Light Cafe here in Atlanta. The Felt Nerdy and Dirty Show. So if anyone wants to follow along with that stuff, you can follow us at Felt Nerdy.
Yep.
On Facebook or wherever. Also, Felt Nerdy and Dirty is our recently started new, where we're trying to promote our adult content more, but keep it separate from the from the family friendly stuff. But yeah, you can follow us Felt Nerdy or Felt Nerdy and Dirty, or if you're in the Atlanta area, you can come to one of the shows we're gonna get this weekend.
Yep.
And where
Right
else
on.
can people find us?
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
Yep. And do you have a closing for us this week? No.
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Nope. Nothing came to mind.
All right. Well, live long and prosper, everybody.
Right on.
Everyone,
see y'all next Thursday.
See you.
That's right.
8 p.m. Eastern.
Mhm.